Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Moving Sales Professionals and Let's Talk Moving podcast. And with me today, by popular demand, it's been a while since we had a company out of Canada. So we have a company out of Canada, specifically Ottawa. So with me, I have Debo, an owner of A Mile Above Moving Services with over 6 years of moving industry experience. How you doing today?
How you doing, Yuri? I'm doing good.
Good, good, good. Thank you for joining us. Gotta love the beach and the waves behind you. Debo, how did you get into the moving industry?
I got in the moving industry just like everybody else. In university, the only job I could get was like either moving or cleaning. So I started out working for like various moving companies for a few years. And one time I just started with a new moving company. I got on the job site and I saw the owner was doing a few things wrong. And I was like, hey, look, let me come in tomorrow. I'll bring some blanket, I'll bring some tapes, I'll bring whatever we need. And I will show you how I think you should, move a client. So, came in the next day with some blanket, bought my own blankets with my own money, bought all the supplies, came in on the job. We finished the job and they look at me and says, wow, this is the best job I've ever done. And I look at myself, really, that's the best job you've ever done. Like we did the basic, wrap up the furniture properly, make sure it's placed in the truck properly, make sure the client is happy throughout the whole process. The basics. And I look at myself, okay, I quit. And then the next day, I started my own company.
Okay, okay. And I mean, that's the case with a lot of people. You have people that have experience that come on a job, and sometimes they realize that some of the people don't have the experience, and that's the case in a lot of the markets. I mean, as we know here, obviously, I've had other moving companies before from Canada, and Canada industry does not have the same regulations as US, for example. So there's a lot more guys in the truck that are out there that are trying to do the job that don't have the licensing, they don't have a lot of things. Obviously, are companies that are based in California, for example, they run into that a lot, and that's hurting their business quite a bit. Once again, US is more regulated, so these movers
Yeah,
sooner or later they get caught not doing things the way that they're supposed to, and they're no longer in business. In
yeah, that's
Canada,
correct.
it's a lot more wheeling in the sense that you have to deal with that a lot more. And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more. How is the moving market in Ottawa different from other Canadian cities such as Toronto and Vancouver, for example?
So the main difference is comparing to Toronto, for instance, Ottawa is like a much more smaller market. We don't have as much people in Ottawa as in Toronto. So there's a lot of more opportunities in Ottawa to actually like grow a moving complaint. And of course, there's also a lot of rogue movers as well. So it just goes beyond like you trying to like separate yourself from every single movie company out there. Because once you get a bad rep from in Ottawa, because it's just such a small city, the rep kind of like, it explodes. You know what I mean? If you get a single bad review or even a few more than a few bad reviews, it kind of like ruins the company in the long run. Meanwhile, in Toronto, it's pretty easy to like kind of like, be able to like wave away from that house and still kind of like succeed in the moving industry because the market is like so huge in comparison to Ottawa.
Sure, sure. So besides obviously licensing, and you do have that, I already checked that out. What do you do that's different from other Canadian movers?
So what we do that is different from other Canadian mobile is like is it goes in one thing, and that you can is easy to see that when you go on our Google review, is like professionalism, efficiency, and so we make sure our teams are like fully trained before they even go on the job, and we care more. We care more. We care about our clients. Job does it is not done when the move is done. We check in with the client. We have I check in myself actually because we are still a small time moving company. So doing the job, I check in with the client to make sure everything is going well. Once this job is done, I check in with the client as well. I check in with the crew, and even sometimes I even pop in to the job site as well just to make sure everything is being done as well. So we care more about our client. We go the extra mile, and that's where the name of the company comes from as well. A mile above movie, we go the extra mile to make sure the services is being done the way we want it to be done from A to Z.
That's great. That's great. So What do you recommend to new companies starting out?
New company starting out, I would probably recommend just with what I faced when I was starting out. I recommend like making sure you have like you equip your teams with the right supplies. Make sure they have the blankets, make sure they have the dollies, make sure they have the stretch wrap, make sure they have the tape, make sure they have everything that they need to get the job done. And try as much as possible to, for a new company at least get one truck on the road. When we started out 6 years ago, we didn't have our own trucks. So of course we're using rental trucks and we're working with brokers as well because we didn't have our own marketing team as well. So that was like costing a lot of money. Like the rental truck keeps going up too. So that was eating into profit margin as well. And also the brokers as well, they're taking like 25% as well. So that also eats into profit margin as well. So at the end of the day, when I look at the money coming in versus what I made, I was like, oh my God. So try and get a truck on the road as soon as possible. Just get a small truck. It doesn't have to be the biggest truck. Just get it on the road and try and do your own marketing. Like even if you're still using like a broker, try and also do your own marketing as well. So if something does happen between like a you and the broker relationship, for instance, you can get your own job to sustain yourself at least, for a while without having to rely on the broker.
Does your company need more creative marketing and ad campaigns to improve traffic and organic leads? Well, Moving Sales Professionals has a solution for you. We have partnered with social media marketing agency that has over 300 million views on their ads and videos across social media, and they have generated over $35 million for their clients over the last 10 years alone. Their services include content creation, social media ads, pay-per-click campaigns, website and funnel development, Google Ads, email marketing campaigns, lead generation, and much, much more. For limited time only, they have discounted rates for their services. Sign up for a free consultation call with us via our Calendly link on our website or below this video.
Right. And that's something that I talk a lot about as well on this podcast is the fact that it's definitely important if you are working with a broker, still work on the marketing side and getting those reviews for yourself and for your
Yeah,
company. Because the problem is that we run into a lot of companies that use brokers that are using brokers marketing. Of course, brokers, they spend a lot of money on marketing that moving companies don't
yeah.
have to spend.
Mhm.
I've said this before. I've sat down with a broker before and they spend $100,000 in a
Oh
week
my.
for marketing.
In a
Most moving
week.
companies don't have
Oh
that type
my
of funding,
God.
right? They don't
Yeah,
have that type of funding. But at the
yeah,
same time, there's not a single moving company that does not want to get their own jobs eventually and does not want to get away from using brokers. So if that's your
yeah,
goal, if your goal is not to work with brokers eventually, you gotta start building your own reputation. You gotta start building your own reviews alongside of whatever it is that you're doing with brokers because
yeah,
you got
yeah,
when you're ready to get out, you want to make sure that your reputation allows you to get out and be able to
yeah,
focus on booking your own jobs right away. Because I get approached a lot by companies that use brokers that don't have their own reviews, that don't have
yeah.
their own ratings, they don't have anything online, no online presence, and then they want to jump in immediately and be able to do long distance jobs, and that's not how long distance
It's
works.
not
Long
gonna happen.
distance, right?
Yeah,
Long distance, you need to have reviews. You need to be able to show people an online
yeah,
presence that people can trust. Because keep
yeah,
in mind, local moving is one thing. The
yeah,
customer is following your truck in their car. If something happens, they call police, right?
yeah, exactly,
Long
exactly.
distance, you're putting their entire life in their truck.
Yeah,
They
it
need
takes
to be
days.
able to trust you. If they
Yeah,
can't find anything about you online, they're not going to
yeah.
trust
But funny enough, there's still a lot of companies out there that have no online profile at all. Like this was a thing before COVID, right? Before COVID, like a lot of companies don't even have a website and they're still doing well. But once COVID hit, everybody went online, right? Every other moving company is now online. Everybody has a website. Everybody has like Google page and everything. So post-COVID, it became a little bit of a challenge because now it's like a level playing ground. So it becomes a challenge now that you to go, to get more jobs. So you have to go the extra mile now. Having a good website is just not enough. You have to kind of like invest in SEO as well. And that was like a really big thing for me for like years. So like do SEO was like crazy. They would just kept spending money and spending money and spending money. And the one thing the SEO companies tells you is this. Okay, pay us this much, but guess what? You're not gonna see the result for 6 months. So because SEO is like a
Yeah,
long-term game.
right.
So
Yeah, SEO is definitely a long-term game. I spoke with somebody recently, and they were really upset with one of the more known SEO companies for moving. But the thing is
yeah.
this, SEO is long-term game. It
Hmm.
also depends on what you're giving them to work with. It also depends on your location. It also depends. There's a lot of factors that are involved. Okay. I
Yeah.
had somebody that was using them, but then what happened was they basically picked up, they changed their location. The
Oh,
company did. So
yeah.
by doing that, they
Yeah.
killed whatever that SEO company was working on because they were focusing
Yeah.
on specific area. Now they had to do everything over again. They
All
had to
over
change
again.
everything.
Oh my. Yeah, and guess what? Google is always changing the rules of SEO every time. So what you're doing in the previous month is probably not going to be relevant a month afterwards. So
Right.
we found out how the challenge, so now what we're doing right now is this. We're doing Google organic SEO as well,
Hmm.
but we also came back to like the grassroots of just networking, right?
Right.
The grassroots of talking to realtors, the grassroots of like going to events, and the grassroots of me like even being on this podcast. Most like I'm a behind the scene kind of guy. I don't like anything camera at all, but I have to if I want my business to succeed. So now
Right.
I'm kind of like encouraging myself to go to networking events, to try to meet more people, to connect with realtors. Realtors are like a really, really good source of moving lead. They are one of the best because every time we had a client contact us and we say, hey, how did you find us? I say, these realtors referred us. They already booked the job even before they even got the quote. I mean, that's fantastic. And so that's what we kind
Right.
of been doing. We've been like going heavily into that and SEO as well, because SEO
Right.
is a
I
long
mean,
game, is
going
long game
door
as
to
well.
door and talking to realtors and talking to management companies, it's old school. It's old school. It's something that all the older companies that have been in business for a long time used to do, right? But that's still what we go back to. That's still what we need to do and continue doing today, because that's also you got to make build those relationships because those
Exactly.
relationships allow you to book more jobs at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
Debo, what do you do outside of moving? Is there anything
So
special
so
that you
this
do?
is yeah, absolutely. So this is tricky. Like when I founded the company in 2017, I was just finishing university as well. So I wanted to do something else with my degree because I have a background in computer engineering. So and it cost a lot of money just to get that degree. So I was like, you know
Sure.
what? So I was doing that for like maybe 3 years working full time, and I just had a team lead managing the moving. So outside of moving, I work full time as a computer engineer. I'm on a 1 year, 2 years off right now, just to like see how far I can grow my company and see what happens. So I do that as well, and I also do real estate as well. And I used to have a company that built website for small businesses during COVID.
Busy man. So
I, I know, I know.
we need to
It's
divert once again, but that feeds into business in general and making sure
yeah,
you diversify because obviously moving is going into stages. We're in on the lower end, we're hoping that it's
yeah,
trajected to go back up. That's what we're all hoping is happening. So we'll see what happens here in US after the election. That's coming, and that's going to
yeah,
affect things for a lot of companies. So we'll see what
absolutely.
that does. Well, not just a lot of companies, a lot of people in general.
And the way the Canadian economy is right now too is a little bit tricky. You can't do one thing. You have to do like a bunch of other things. Especially me, I get bored easily. So if I'm just doing one thing every single day, I get bored. So to keep myself interested, I have to like kind of like do a little bit of this, a little bit of this here and there. And it's a bad thing. It's not, I'm not gonna say it's a good thing. It's like you're doing so much stuff that you can't like, focus on like one thing. So this year I did a few things differently this year. I had like a property manager just to like take care of the real estate portfolio and like up in that aspect. And I
Mhm.
also had a operation manager as well to help with the moving company. So I don't have to like be there every single morning and like, be on site. I have someone I can call and find and figure out what's going on. So that really helped.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, diversification absolutely helps and it helps you focus things and also gives you perspective. Maybe
Yeah,
something you're doing
yeah,
in one industry versus the other industry can apply to the other industry as well. 'Cause
absolutely.
there's different things, there's parallels. that you can
Yeah,
find
yeah,
between different businesses when it comes to running businesses, and what's successful in one business may or may not work in something else. But
yeah,
it's always good to have a different perspective, so that
yeah,
always helps to
absolutely.
have that knowledge. But Debo, we can talk about this for a long time. I really appreciate you joining me today. And like I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll talk again soon.